A woman sits at a small polygonal table inside a quiet restaurant, her angular fingers hovering over a menu that unfolds like an accordion of endless geometric panels. Each panel holds another option, another variation, another possibility. She has been sitting here for 22 minutes. The waiter, a faceted figure with a smooth triangular face, has already come by 3 times. Each time she said she needed just 1 more minute. But the minutes keep stacking like translucent cubes on the table beside her, and she still cannot choose. This is not about dinner. This is about a pattern that has shaped her entire life. Across the street, visible through the restaurant's low-poly glass window, a man stands frozen in front of a shop display. Rows of identical-looking sneakers line up on geometric shelves, each pair differing by a single shade or stitching detail. He picks one up, puts it down, picks up another. His phone is open to a comparison chart he built himself. We treat these moments as quirks, small jokes we tell about ourselves at parties. But beneath the surface, something far more complex is happening. Pull back now from the street into a wide aerial view. The entire city is built from soft polygonal shapes, pale blues and grays, and scattered across it like glowing pins on a map are thousands of tiny frozen figures. Each one caught in a loop of deliberation, choosing an apartment, choosing a career, choosing what to say in a text message they have rewritten 11 times. Overthinking is one of the most common psychological experiences in modern life, and yet it is rarely discussed as what it actually is: a collision between a brain wired for caution and a world overloaded with options. Step inside a blocky, pastel-colored laboratory where a researcher places 2 tables side by side. One table holds 6 jars of jam, simple and neatly spaced. The other holds 24, packed tightly together, labels overlapping. This is a reconstruction of one of the most cited experiments in decision science. In the year 2000, psychologists Sheena Iyengar and Mark Lepper set up a tasting booth in a grocery store and tracked what happened when shoppers encountered either a small or large assortment of jams. The large display attracted more people. It was eye-catching, exciting, abundant. But when it came time to actually buy a jar, the results flipped dramatically. Shoppers at the 6-jar table were 10 times more likely to make a purchase. 10 times, not slightly more, 10 times. More options did not help people decide. More options paralyzed them. Zoom into one of the jam jars on the crowded table. Its polygonal glass surface reflects a distorted image of the shopper's face, fragmented into triangles, uncertain, split between possibilities. The jar slowly multiplies, copies of it stretching into a long geometric corridor of infinite choice. This phenomenon has a name: the paradox of choice, and it does not stay in grocery stores. Follow the corridor as it transforms into a glowing apartment interior where a young man sits cross-legged on a low-poly couch surrounded by floating screens. Each screen shows a different streaming thumbnail. He has been scrolling for 35 minutes and has watched nothing. Netflix, the company behind one of the world's largest content libraries, discovered this problem at scale. They spent millions of dollars developing recommendation algorithms not because people lacked content, but because too much content was reducing satisfaction. Viewers overwhelmed by choice would browse endlessly and then close the app feeling oddly frustrated, as though they had wasted time doing nothing, which they had. The screens around the young man flicker and dim one by one, leaving him in a soft blue darkness, still holding the remote, still undecided. Now enter a different kind of space. A vast, abstract room filled with branching geometric trees, each branch splitting into 2, then 4, then 8. These are decision trees, and they stretch upward like crystalline towers of forking paths. Walking between them is a woman in a lab coat, a researcher navigating the architecture of human choice. Psychologist Barry Schwartz and his colleagues studied the way different people approach decisions and identified two broad styles. Some people are satisficers. They look for something good enough, something that meets their criteria, and once they find it, they choose and move forward. Others are maximizers. They cannot stop until they have found the best possible option. They compare, research, revisit, second guess. Here is what the research found. Maximizers, even when they objectively made better choices by measurable standards, reported lower satisfaction with those choices. They felt worse. The data, published in the journal Psychological Science in 2002, showed a consistent correlation. The more someone pursued the optimal decision, the less happy they tended to be with the result. If you have ever spent hours choosing something only to feel a strange emptiness once you finally decided, you are not broken. You are experiencing a well-documented psychological pattern, and it does not reflect a flaw in your character. Walk now through one of the branching decision trees and emerge into a low-poly office. A man sits at a geometric desk, staring at two nearly identical job offers printed on angular sheets of paper. He has made a spreadsheet. He has made a pros and cons list. He has called 4 friends. He has read reviews of both companies on 3 different platforms. And yet, he is no closer to deciding than he was a week ago. The thing keeping him stuck is not a lack of information. It is a specific psychological mechanism that Schwartz identified, and that later research by Zeelenberg and Peters confirmed in 2007. Anticipatory regret. He is not analyzing both options because analysis will produce a better answer. He is analyzing because he is terrified of making the wrong choice and having to live with regret. This is the engine of analysis paralysis, not wisdom, not thoroughness. Fear. The dread of a future self looking back and thinking, I should have picked the other one. The 2 job offers on his desk start to glow. One warm orange, the other cool blue, and their light merges into a swirling vortex between them. Inside the vortex, ghostly polygonal versions of his future selves split off in different directions, each one looking back at him with an expression he cannot read. He is trying to predict which future will hurt less, and that prediction is impossible. Step out of the office and into a cutaway cross-section of a geometric brain. Soft pinks and corals, with neural pathways lighting up like fiber optic cables. Focus on one particular circuit that loops back on itself, firing the same signal over and over in a tightening spiral. This is rumination. Psychologist Susan Nolen-Hoeksema studied this pattern extensively and published key findings in the Journal of Abnormal Psychology in 2000. Rumination is the repetitive, passive focus on the causes and consequences of a problem without moving toward a solution. It is not problem solving. It is the feeling of problem solving without any of the function. Her research found a significant correlation between ruminative thinking and both depression and anxiety. People who ruminate do not arrive at better answers. They arrive at worse moods. The loop feeds itself. Worry leads to analysis. Analysis leads to doubt. Doubt leads back to worry, and the spiral tightens. Inside the geometric brain, the looping neural circuit pulses faster and faster, the light intensifying until the whole structure vibrates with a dull, anxious hum. Step back out through the walls of the brain and into a calm, empty room, where the same woman from the restaurant now sits across from a low-poly therapist figure. The therapist's office is simple, warm, geometric shapes. A potted plant made of triangular leaves. A window showing a soft, gradient sky. There is another factor that researchers have linked to chronic overthinking: intolerance of uncertainty. Psychologists Michel Dugas and colleagues described it in 1998 as a tendency to find uncertain situations threatening, regardless of how likely the feared outcome actually is. For someone with high intolerance of uncertainty, The problem is not that a bad outcome is probable. The problem is that it is possible, and possibility alone is enough to trigger the entire machinery of worry. This connects directly to what we have already seen. The paradox of choice multiplies uncertainty. Anticipatory regret punishes uncertainty. Rumination circles around uncertainty. And intolerance of uncertainty makes all of it feel dangerous. Pull out from the therapist's office and watch as the building itself becomes transparent, revealing dozens of rooms inside, each one containing a different person frozen in a different decision. One is staring at a phone screen, trying to compose a message. One is sitting in a car in a parking lot, unable to decide whether to go in. One is lying in bed, replaying a conversation from 6 hours ago, editing what they should have said. These are not dramatic life crises. These are Tuesdays. Now move into something unexpected. A clean, bright laboratory space, where a researcher in 1991 set up an experiment that challenged a deeply held assumption. Timothy Wilson and Jonathan Schooler asked participants to evaluate different options. One group was told to carefully analyze their preferences, to think out loud, to articulate why they liked or disliked each option. The other group was simply told to go with their gut. The result was counterintuitive and repeatable. The people who analyzed their preferences were less satisfied with their choices. Verbal analysis of preferences actually worsened their ability to evaluate them. The act of overthinking did not sharpen the decision. It distorted it. Inside the lab, the two groups are visible as small polygonal figures at separate tables. Above the analytical group, tangled threads of light crisscross in chaotic patterns. Above the intuitive group, the threads are fewer, simpler, and they point cleanly toward a single choice. This does not mean thinking is bad. It means there is a point where additional deliberation stops adding value and begins subtracting it. The line between careful thinking and counterproductive overthinking is real, and most chronic overthinkers crossed it long ago without realizing. If you have ever noticed that your first instinct about something turned out to be right, even after hours of deliberation led you elsewhere, you are not imagining it. Research suggests that pattern is real, and recognizing it is not a weakness. It is a skill. Drift upward now above the laboratory, above the city, into a wide polygonal sky where clouds are made of soft hexagons, and the horizon is a clean gradient line. From up here, the patterns become visible. The restaurant, the shoe store, the streaming couch, the job offers, the parking lot, the text message. All of them connected by the same underlying wiring. The brain did not evolve in an environment of infinite choice. For most of human history, decisions were constrained by geography, season, scarcity, and social structure. You ate what was available. You wore what could be made. You married who was nearby. The modern world removed those constraints and replaced them with an explosion of options that the decision-making hardware was never designed to process. This is not an excuse. It is context. Descend slowly back into the city and find the woman from the restaurant again. She is still there, but something has shifted. The menu in front of her is still enormous, still unfolding in its accordion of geometric panels. But now she is looking at it differently. She closes most of the panels. She does not try to read every option. She finds the section she already knows she likes, scans 3 choices, and picks one. The waiter returns. She orders without hesitation. The stacked cubes of wasted minutes beside her dissolve into small particles of light and drift upward. She did not find the perfect meal. She chose a good one, and the relief on her angular face is immediate. Across the street, the man in the shoe store has also moved. He is walking out the door holding a bag. The shoes he bought are not objectively the best sneakers available in the world. They fit, they are comfortable, and he likes the color. That was enough. Back on the couch, the young man with the streaming screens has picked a movie. It is 20 minutes in, and he is genuinely laughing. He will never know if there was a better option buried in the catalog. And that is precisely why he is enjoying this one. The lesson buried in all of this research is not that you should stop thinking. It is that you should notice when thinking has stopped serving you. When analysis becomes circular. When the search for the best becomes the enemy of the good. When the fear of future regret is stealing present peace. The geometric city hums quietly under a sky of hexagonal stars. In apartments and offices and restaurants across its angular landscape, people are making imperfect choices. Some of them are smiling. The woman from the restaurant walks out into the night air. She does not look back at the menu. She does not wonder what she missed. The polygonal street glows faintly beneath her feet, and she walks forward into a city full of decisions she does not need to make tonight.